Welcome in, everybody, to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and this is BP NFL. It's time for Thursday Night Football. You know what that means. It's time for Scott Bogman and myself to take a look into the game, and we got a good one. Ooh-wee. NFC North matchup. The Packers, the Lions. That's right. I wore my little Lions shirt today just to support the team there. I'm not a Lions fan, and Lions fans might be mad at my take on this game, too, as we get going. That's what they call a tease in the business. But before we begin any of that, Scott Bogman, I know the holidays. Last week we had a bunch of standalone games, but this one has a different feel to me than anything we saw on Thanksgiving. This is a game here where the Packers are playing really well. The Lions snuck out a victory at the end. They took a lot of hits, a lot of abuse, a lot of injuries on the defensive side of that game. I think they're a little vulnerable in this contest on Thursday night. Your thoughts?
I would say that that's fair. I would say with the amount of injuries to the defensive line for Detroit, they're definitely vulnerable. But the injuries didn't happen on offense, so
true.
I'm going to be taking the Lions.
Well, we certainly know where the over is going to go. Before we get there, don't forget, make sure you download the Betting Pros app and make sure you sync your sports books for free. And remember, you get the 3 free days of premium when you download that bad boy. So what are you waiting for? I mean, the college playoffs are around the corner. Boggs and I are so excited about that. I can't imagine what a betting bonanza that's going to be, Boggs. Oh my God. We're all going to be sitting there in January with, no more regular season NFL games, and we're just degenerates betting college football. Oh, I can't wait to do it. Can't wait. And we have all that coverage there. You, Seth, Terrell, everybody's doing a fantastic job on all the college coverage here over on Betting Pros. But let's dive into this game. Thursday Night Football. The Detroit Lions are 3-point favorites at home. You get a plus 3.5 in some books. Right now, I see on BetMGM's got the Green Bay Packers at plus 3.5 at minus 115. The number pretty much everywhere consensus is 51.5, and then plus 158 on the Green Bay Packers money line. Andrew Erickson always calls Ford Field the Coors Field, right? He calls it the Coors Field of the NFL, scoring bonanza. I do agree. I think the best bet on this is probably the 51.5, and I got to tell you, I am really curious about Green Bay on the money line straight up. I think there's a chance where they might be catching the Lions at just the right time here in their schedule, in their journey, and I think they're just a little vulnerable. I haven't quite decided if I'm going to go all the way in yet, but on the over, I am there already. Let's talk about it. What's your best bets here when you're just looking at the lines for this game?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably lay the points because Detroit's at home, but I'm with you. I don't really like the side of this game. I like the over more, and I think it's mainly because of the injuries that we've had to the Detroit defensive line. It's, Hutch, Davenport, now Pascal, Wingo, Malcolm Rodriguez, the linebacker, all on IR now. Onwuzurike, Reader were DMPs on Tuesday. I didn't see if they were practicing today on Wednesday as we're recording this or not. So there's just a lot of injuries to this line specifically. And if you are going to give that to Green Bay is going to run the ball down your throat. But obviously Josh Jacobs a little bit nicked up himself. But I like Emmanuel Wilson. Chris Brooks has been a nice physical runner when he's been in there as well. And Jordan Love. If you're giving Jordan Love time to pass the ball, he's got those targets in Watson and Wicks that will get open deep. And that is the weakness of this Detroit team, is the secondary. So to me, the over is the best play by a pretty large margin in this game.
I would agree. I think that is definitely the approach there. And it's not the normal short week. Both these teams, had 7 days to prepare because both of them played on Thursday. But, we talk about this a lot in baseball, where we're talking about the labor of certain innings and games, right? I think Detroit was laboring in that second half of that game, too. Caleb Williams was lighting them up. They were trying to hang on. They were trying to sub in a million guys because every time they were in a play, it seemed like somebody came off the field hurt. It was crazy on the defensive side. Whereas I look at that game at night, I didn't get to watch it start to finish, but everything I saw was pretty much a very comfortable win for the Green Bay Packers. The Miami Dolphins were like, it's cold out. We're not going to play football today. So I think they're coming from different perspectives.
This game was close.
Even though they're coming from the same amount of time.
This game was close the last time they played. It was 24-14. Right. And remember, Detroit had a pick 6 in that game. So really, it was 17-14. in that game. Coming down to the wire, and Green Bay had a chance to drive and score and ended up throwing a pick six. So it played a lot closer last time. It's division rivalry. I mean, good Lord, we just saw the Browns beat Pittsburgh on Thursday Night Football, right? So rivalries are just, they play out a different way in a lot of these scenarios. And that's why I feel like the Bears were close to beating the Lions on Thanksgiving. So, these are, as Mike Tomlin would call it, intimate relationships. These teams know the opponent. The opponent knows them, and there's not going to be a lot of fooling. It's, you beat them straight up.
We have an intimate relationship, you and I. I like to think of us as the same. All these years now, I mean, it's about 10 years from now, you and I. That's how, I mean, you think about it. Like, it doesn't feel like, we met each other that long ago in terms of doing shows and things. And look at us. It's like 10 plus years, a decade.
We're still here.
I didn't have
arguing over games like an old married couple.
And I would not have it any other way. There's nobody I'd rather argue about games with than you. Also, remember, you might as well make your picks count here on the over, because that's where we're living for this one. Go to bettingpros.com/NFL contest. It's a new month, so we're giving away free stuff. That's right. You don't even have to make bets. You just have to make picks with our NFL contest. Sync your sports books for free and use the quick pick feature over on Betting Pros on the app. And again, even if sports betting isn't legal where you are, you could still make the quick pick. We're doing weekly prizes, monthly prizes, and guess what? Boom, it's December. It's a whole new time to be involved in the contest. So go to bettingpros.com/NFL contest today. And then there were the props. Scott Bogman, let's start with Jordan Love. I'm on the yardage, but as always, we are seeing things just a little differently. I'm over on the yardage total for sure. I think he gets there because of some of these injuries. And if you can't put pressure on the quarterback, then Jordan Love's going to be able to sit there and do a little bit more, especially in that controlled weather environment. The last time you talked about that Green Bay game, there was some weather involved in that game. There was some rain involved in that game. It was not a fun day. It was cold. It was rainy. It was Green Bay. It was gross. It's going to be perfect because it's indoors. So you're going with the over on the 33.5 pass attempts. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I picked it, it was 31.5, and it has steadily climbed because smart people are betting it. But by the way, 6-3 on the Thanksgiving and the Black Friday. I think I was 3-3 on Thanksgiving, 3-0 on the Black Friday game. So we'll take it. And
you know what's funny, Boggs? I forgot on the Thanksgiving special to mention it. Every year, one of those games goes sideways. Every year, and this was the first year where I didn't talk about it, and none of the games went sideways.
It
almost did.
Chicago had a chance.
I was sitting there in that fourth quarter going, I can't believe this is the game that's going to go sideways. And I can't believe I didn't talk about the sideways Thanksgiving game. And then at the end, the Bears bared and the rest is history. But
I mean, who would have cared who won the Giants and Cowboys game? But
I think everyone's a loser there.
Right.
But let's talk about Jordan Love in this number here, the 33.
Yeah, Jordan Love now. He had 33.5 pass attempts. It is minus 125, but he had 39 in the last game. Opponents are passing at a 64.4% clip against Detroit. That's the second highest behind only the Minnesota Vikings, who are a heavy passing offense as well. And you can see, Caleb had 39 pass attempts last week. Stroud had 33. Love had 39. Rudolph had 38. Prescott and Rush combined for 44. Geno had 56. Kyler had 34. Stafford had 49 against this team. So the key is Detroit scores points. They get up, they put pressure on you, and you have to score points to come back. And I think that's what we're going to see in this game. Detroit is the favorite, even with all those injuries to the defensive line, by 3 points. They're 9-3 against the spread. They beat Green Bay by 10 points last time. So I think we're going to have to see Jordan Love throw the ball again in this game, just like he did in the first matchup.
All right. Normally, Boggs likes to go long here. Sometimes with a wide receiver prop, the longest reception. This time, it's a quarterback. It's Jared Goff we're talking about. The longest completion over 35.5. And I like this one. I think this is very astute because you got a lot of playmakers here. Right? You've got guys like Jameson Williams. You could have a dump off pass to Jahmyr Gibbs that he takes for 50 yards. I mean, you've got a lot of outs here. So I think this is very clever. It's minus 115. I actually thought you might have even been able to find positive money on this, but alas, it looks like Vegas, as always, is onto it. But still, you're onto it also. Let's talk about why.
Joe, I feel like they're watching my doc when I start picking these, because this was 31.5.
Is this the government? On Monday. Is that who's watching it?
It's the government watching me.
Watching.
They're watching me. I don't like the government. No, it was 31.5. And now it's 35.5. But in this last matchup, this is my this is me being neurotic. I went down a total rabbit hole for this one here. In that last matchup, Jared Goff's ADOT was 3.6 yards. That's the second lowest that has happened, and they had the second lowest yardage total of the season, 261 yards against Green Bay, and their lowest point total because Kirby Joseph had that pick six. And then the only game that was worse for them offensively in terms of yardage was that game against Tennessee, where they threw 5 touchdowns and only had the ball for 22 minutes because Tennessee turned the ball over 4 times. Like, that was just, they just scored every time they touched the ball, so they didn't have that many yards. So, but if you go and you look at the opponents against Green Bay and the ones that have been successful, Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, 8.9 ADOT. Sam Darnold beat them with a 10.1. Lawrence, 30-27. That's a lot of points for them to give up to Jacksonville. He had a 10.1 ADOT. The only team with a large ADOT that didn't work was the Colts because Anthony Richardson was throwing it. That was the game where he's just slinging it deep every single game or every single pass to try to make something happen. I think if I'm noticing this trend against the Packers, the Lions have to notice this. And this was right. So I think you're going to see a more concerted effort to get the ball downfield from Jared Goff here. Now, the Packers have a really good pass rush, so, getting the ball out might have been the whole game plan, but again, lowest yardage total, lowest point total. It didn't work last time. So I think you adjust, you feed off what some of these other teams have done to have success against Green Bay, and you go from there. Low ADOT for Tua last week, and it did not work. You got to throw the ball and stretch the field, get everybody to move back a little bit against Green Bay. I think that's what they're going to do.
All right, let's talk about Jahmyr Gibbs, 66.5 rushing yards in this one, minus 110. And I've gotten a lot of overs today for Pogs. So let's talk about this over.
Yeah, this is, last time only 11 for 65 and 1, but he ran for 5.9 yards per carry. And Jonathan Taylor, 8.6, was the only running back with a higher yard per carry than 5 with over 5 carries versus Green Bay. So over 12.5 carries for Gibbs is also bad juice, minus 145, which is, I was kind of looking at the rush attempts, but then when I saw the yards were so low for Gibbs, I decided to take that. He's gone over this total 9 of 11 games. Only Green Bay and at Dallas is when he didn't hit this one, and I think he wants to, be a little better in this game at home against Green Bay. Plus, if he's going to get 13 carries, he's probably going to break at least one big one. So I'm all on Gibbs for going over this total.
All right, let's get to the next one here. David Montgomery, the other running back in this backfield, 2.5 receptions. This one was pulled, and then it came back. So, now we got to jump on it here.
This is why I was
plus money.
I basically had to write this up twice, Joe. This is
that's way too much work for you.
Yeah, which is I don't like doing that, but I did have an under for the record. I had an under on Jaden Reed receptions at 3.5, but they switched it to 4.5 and killed the juice on it. So, but they gave me this one back. It's gone, it's here, it's back again. But over 2.5 receptions, you're getting plus 155, 28 catchable targets. He's had 27 receptions. Only Bucky Irving's 36 of 35 is a better rate among running backs. He has had 3 targets and 3 catches in 3 straight games. Same thing against the Packers in the last matchup. And he's had 3+ receptions in 7 of 12 games so far. And the ADOT of negative 0.4 yards makes for easy receptions for David Montgomery. So I think he can easily hit this one, and I love the plus money.
All right, last one here, Christian Watson. More Christian Watson later in the show, but right now we're going to talk about his over 45.5 receiving yards. You and I agree on this one. I think there might be at least one big play here from Christian Watson in this game.
Yeah, Romeo Doubs is so questionable. Watson had a higher snap percentage last week than Jaden Reed and for the last 3 weeks. And last week with no Doubs, it was 94%. Green Bay is number 1 in pass blocking grade. They've only allowed 1 sack and 7 pressures on 39 dropbacks in the first matchup here, which is another reason why you like the over in this game. And Watson has had 3 catches that have gone over this total already this year. So we know he's a big play threat. He's going to be on the field more, and they're throwing the ball to him more often than they are some of these other guys Dobbs is playing at less than 100% if he does play. So I think we're going to see a decent amount of Christian Watson. And without that Detroit pass rush, Jordan Love should be able to sit back and pass. I know that's why you like Green Bay in this game.
Yeah, well, like I said, I think they can pull out that money line. I do. I don't know if Detroit's going to be a one-loss team all the way through. You know what I mean? Like they had a couple ones too. I mean, we won that game against the Texans a couple weeks ago where things got a little tight there. I feel like they're tightening up a little bit sometimes. And maybe it's just better that they just lose again and just kind of get that out of the system and then refocus. And if you lose to an in-division opponent, there's no shame in that. That's how these teams are built. They're built to go against each other in these in-division matchups. Like that's the whole point. These teams spend all offseason. How do we beat teams XYZ in our division? And this is why you do it, because you play them every single year. So that's what we're looking here to. There's some really good props on here. No defensive props here from Boggs. That's because everybody's hurt. I think
they're all hurt. Yeah,
they're all hurt. And there's no way.
Two strong O lines too. You know, tackle totals are tougher to figure out. Normally, I want to do tackle totals if I think one team is going to lead in time of possession by a decent margin, because that means that the other defense is going to be out there a bunch racking up tackles. I don't have a good feeling one way or the other in time of possession in this game. And I can't do a sack one because everyone for Detroit is hurt, and the Detroit O-line is still really good. So we're going to pass on IDPs this week.
If you want more props, make sure you go to the prop bet cheat sheet. Go to bettingpros.com/props, or when you download the app, just click on the prop bet cheat sheet. You'll find the best props for the over and the under, along with the fantasy projections. And then right there in front of your face, the best house to bet them at with the best odds. It's literally a cheat sheet. That's why we call it that. So get cheating today and make some money. All right. So go right now, bettingpros.com/props. That's the place to find it today. Use the prop bet cheat sheet. Use all the tools at Betting Pros. Let's talk about the parlay. I'm keeping this one simple here. I'm taking the two things I like the most, and I'm just getting out of dodge because there's a lot of variables sometimes in these in-division games, as we've seen sometimes this year. Give me the over 51.5, which we all love. We're all in on that one. And then give me Jordan Love over 247.5 passing yards. I want to take the yardage, not the completions or the attempts. I don't want to go anywhere near that stuff. Just give me the yardage. If he has a couple big moments and some big plays, I get it. I like it easy. That's how I like it, my money. Very easy. You put the over 51.5 together with the 247.5 for the passing yards of Love. You get plus 176. Not the biggest number we've worked with, but I think a number that I'd rather take those things and go 2 units than try to add more variance. Because every time you add more variance, yes, the payoff and the parlays get bigger. But you know what? I want to stick to what I know, and I think those two things do come in here.
In the time cops come get you if there's too many variants, just like in Loki.
Yeah, right. Those time cops. Oh, I thought you meant like Jean-Claude Van Damme time cop.
No, classic. What were they? What was the? Did you watch remember. Loki?
I did. I watched the first season of Loki. I tried to watch the second season, and then I couldn't get into it.
The Time Authority, whatever they're called. I can't remember what they're
called. My daughter keeps yelling at me that I gotta watch it, so I told her after football season I'll watch it again. I'll give it a shot again. But that first one, I really liked Loki because it had a weird like 12 Monkeys kind of vibe to it. And then
I forget you don't like Owen Wilson that much, do you?
No, I don't. Yeah. I don't like his. Although he wasn't my problem in this. Owen Wilson actually was not my deal in this for whatever reason. All right, and if you're looking to build your own same game parlay, don't forget we got a tool for that too. We got a tool for everything here. All right, so if you want to leverage insights, you want to get cover probability, you want all that jazz, all that stuff. The best place to do it, again, the same game parlay builder right here. In fact, I was working with it today, and I worked with it on Monday Night Football too to get some bets going for that. So it's a great tool. Again, bettingpros.com/parlay. So you can put all the things together. It's got the ways to evaluate them, and then it gives you grades too of if you like this, you should correlate it with that. I love it. I mean, especially for somebody who is just starting out in the wagering markets here, and a lot of people are new to stuff. The Betting Pros tools really just kind of walk you through stuff. That's what I really like. And the same game parlay tool is probably the best one, Boggs, outside of the prop bet cheat sheet to like walk you through understanding why. The why is important. That's
the why is important.
The why is how we bet, and then how we spend our money afterwards. That's up for debate. Let's talk about touchdown calls. I'm going Christian Watson plus 190. It's a good number there. That's the one I want. Big play, Christian Watson having a big moment in the dome. Let's go. Where are you going for your touchdown call, Boggs?
I'm going to go with J-Mo. Give me
There
Jamison
you go.
Williams. I think, it's the reason why I have the longest completion for Jared Goff. I think they need to throw the ball downfield more if they want to put more points up and really compete offensively against the Packers. I think that needs to be the strategy. And I think you do it early and you open up that run game a little bit against a tough run defense in Green Bay. So I think we're going to see the field stretched, and I think Jamison can catch a big one.
There you go. All right, that'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For Scott Bogman, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids. Enjoy Thursday Night Football. It should be a good one.